All right, and boom, ladies and gentlemen, what is up, everyone? It's me, J-Rod, the filmmaker, former film major, frequent fighting gamer from Philadelphia, and we are back with a very special video for multiple reasons. This is going to be the final video of 2024. That's exciting. Go ahead and give some applause for you guys, for me, for 2024 in general. I mean, it kind of sucks, but if you want to boo, go ahead. You can boo. But this is the final video of 2024, and not only that, this is the first and final video of 2024. It has been a year full of first and final videos. It has been pretty fun, and we've done a lot of different properties, starting this year with, I believe our first and final video of the year was the Vince Staples show. So we did the Vince Staples show back in February of this year. Then we did an X-Men 97 in May, Deadpool and Wolverine in August, the Borderlands movie in September, Agatha All Along back in November, in the beginning of November, and then the end of November, we did first and final for Arcane. Now, if this is your first time ever seeing a first and final video, I'll explain to you what it is, because you're probably confused. But it is a two-part video where I take my first reaction and my final thoughts, and I put them together into one video so you guys can see how my opinion of a TV show, movie, or etc. Changes over time. Is my first reaction similar to my final thoughts, or have the thoughts changed over time after I got to see the full thing? And today we're going to be doing a first and final video for Secret Level. This is a very exciting show. It's an anthology series that is currently streaming on Amazon Prime. If you guys don't know what anthology series means, it means basically in this context that every single episode of this show is going to be a self-contained story. So instead of a linear story that takes place over the course of a couple episodes, there's short self-contained episodes short self-contained stories where every episode is its own story, beginning, middle, and end. And the twist to this specific anthology series is every episode is based on a different video game. Now, this comes from the creators of the show Love, Death, and Robots, which is another very popular anthology series that takes place on Netflix. I've done videos talking about it before in the past, and I really love it. It's really good every time it comes back. The thing with that one is the theme is love, death, and robots. So there are these different takes. They do different tones. Sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's action-packed, sometimes it's horror-inspired, but it's always about love, death, and robots. This one is all about different video games, so depending on which game each episode is based off of, will tell you kind of the themes that they're going to go for, the tone that they're going to go for, the animation style that they're going to go for, and it informs the story that they're creating. And we got the announcement of this series back during Gamescom in August. So it doesn't seem like that long ago. It's only about 4 months ago, but it actually does feel like a long time, because since then so much stuff has dropped. We got Arcane, which is probably one of the best video game adapted series ever, and season 2 is probably like the peak of that series. We've got a whole bunch of other shows. I really enjoyed Dandadan, which is just kind of finished up. It's an anime. And actually, the day that I'm recording this, it is Christmas Eve, and not only is this going to be the first and final video, but I'm also preparing for next week's video, which is going to be my review of every single TV show and movie that I watched in 2024. I've done this video before a couple times in the past, so you can see everything I watched in 2021, 2022, 2023. Did I do it in 2020? I don't really remember, but I do have a bunch of those in the past. And so that's going to be like this video, but a lot longer and filled with a lot more things in more genres. I'm going to talk about all of the movies, TV shows, animated, anime, Marvel-based, DC-based, live-action films. Like, it's going to be everything all in one video. And even the narrative video games that I played through this year. So, this is going to be basically like a little warm-up for that video that's going to be coming next week. It's going to be a lot shorter. I'm only focusing on Secret Level in this one. And I'm going to try not to be here for too long, because whenever I do review one of these series, I do tend to ramble a little bit because I like to talk about every single episode. I will talk about every single episode today, but I will try to keep it brief. But either way, I've already recorded my first reaction back at Gamescom. So I'm going to send it over to myself from the past so you guys can check out my reaction to the trailer, the first reveal of Secret Level back at Gamescom 2024 opening night live. And then after that, I'm going to come back to the future where I can give you guys my full review of the series, spoiler-free, then spoiler-filled, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, let's do it. Because this sounds kind of fire. Is it going to be like a Love, Death, and Robots anthology series for existing and new games?
We've been working on it for 3 years, and I'm very emotional because I'm so excited.
That sounds like a banger.
And it's finally time. So please enjoy the world premiere teaser of Secret Level.
It's alright, Tim. You can already see like a Warhammer character. I can't really make out any of the other characters, I'm gonna be honest.
It is our love letter to games.
There's one guy that looks like Joel from The Last of Us.
On Amazon Prime Video on December 10th. Not too far now.
And it comes out in December.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, I'm kind of on this one. Yeah, we definitely got a Warhammer Space Marine dude. But I want to see what the other games are like. Oh, that was Sifu! They're doing one for Sifu! That's hard! Okay, that's not Joel. I said that guy looks like Joel, but that's definitely not Joel.
It is you. You will open the door.
Yo, there's gonna be an episode of Sifu, bro. That's so sick.
All those moments.
Sheesh.
It's a new adventure.
Is that God of War?
Just for you.
Cyberpunk, bro? What? This is gonna be hard. I can't even, bro.
You have a game to play.
I'm gonna have to go back. Yo. Hey, yo. No, this is kind of peak. Hold on. I don't want to watch the fucking Xbox trailer right now. I want to actually go back to when they started showing titles and change the playback speed. Alright, wait for it. Right here. Hold on. Armor Core. Megaman. That was Megaman. Outer Worlds 2. Warhammer Unreal Tournament. Dungeons and Dragons. Pac-Man? There's going to be a Pac-Man show? Spelunky. Crossfire. Concord. Which literally isn't even out yet? Okay, no, I'm actually hyped for the Concord one. The Concord one is actually kind of underrated because I like how Concord looks. I really like the story stuff they're going for. I'm just not that much into online shooters, so I probably won't play it that much. But a Concord like show, a Concord anthology series, that shit could slap. Bro, y'all saw Kratos too, right? I'm not tripping. I saw Kratos in this trailer. Oh, let me unmute. Should I run the trailer back one more time?
All right.
Tim them cooked, brother. Tim cooked on this shit.
Love letter to games.
Lie.
And you can watch the series on Amazon Prime Video on December 10th. Not too far now. So enjoy. Thank you.
Timmy, you cooked. It said PlayStation. They didn't say specifically God of War, but I swear I saw Kratos.
This world has waited for your arrival.
Is that Outer Worlds? Bro, this is gonna be good.
It is you. You will open the door.
Like, I'm hyped for the Sifu one, the Concord one, the Megaman one. Like, what? And Pac-Man? What are they doing for Pac-Man? That one is kind of insane. How are they gonna do a Pac-Man series? Dungeons and Dragons.
Adventure.
I was gonna say that kind of looks like look, that is Kratos. That's fucking Kratos, right? I'm not bugging. That's Kratos. I was gonna say that one of them looked like Death Stranding a little bit.
Just for
And Cyberpunk. What the fuck? That's Cyberpunk, is it not, or am I tripping? Bro, they cooked. And like, there's a bunch of games in here too that I don't even know about, but I'm excited to watch their episodes.
You have a game to play.
Yo. Oh, that was a Pac-Man tease at the end. Bro, the Pac-Man one is gonna be so insane. Alright, and so that was my first reaction to the Secret Level trailer. I was very excited at the time. It seemed like a really good idea. And now that I've seen the full thing, I can tell you whether it was a really good idea or not. But before we get into it, like I said, I'm recording this part of the video on Christmas Eve. By the time you see it, Christmas will be over. And you guys didn't give me a Christmas gift. How could you show up to the channel and not give me a Christmas gift? I don't know what to do. I am so just ashamed of you. But actually, there was one thing you guys can do. There is a Christmas gift you guys can give me right now. It's free, it's fast, and all you have to do is boom. It's a three-parter. Hit me with the like button first. Smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button especially. And if you don't want to get notified whenever I make a new video, also hit the notification bell. That's the bonus. Hit the like button and the subscribe button. And if you want to take it an extra step, you can hit the notification bell and join as a channel member. But I would really appreciate it if you guys hit that subscribe button, because we're very, very close to 800 subscribers, and I would love to hit that goal before the end of the year, and I can do that with you guys' help. So go ahead and subscribe. We can hit that goal, and I would really, really appreciate it. We've got a lot of content planned already for 2025, and if you don't want to miss out, then you're going to want to subscribe. But without further ado, we're going to get into it with my final thoughts of Secret Level. I'll start with a spoiler-free review of the entire series as a whole, tell you guys how I feel. Then I'll get into details on each episode and start to spoil some things. So let's start off. Alright, so let's get into it, starting with the spoiler-free review and basically just my overall review of the entire series. Guys, it's really, really good. Now, I would say that all the time, the things that I watch for First and Final are always good, but there is some exceptions, like the Borderlands film. That was not very good. And there might even be something in this season of Secret Level that I didn't like, but I'll get to that in the spoilers. But overall, it is a really good show. Really good. I thought it was going to be good. I really enjoyed the concept that they came up with. I really think that Studio Blur and Tim Miller, and I think that they know what they're doing with this, and I was really expecting them to deliver with this project, and boy, did they deliver. I knew I was gonna like it. I predicted I was gonna like it, and it's one of those ones where I really did like it. Probably more than I thought, because there are some surprises in these 15 episodes, but there are also, I mean, there's some surprises because there are a couple properties I didn't know anything about that delivered amazing stories. Then there are even some properties that I knew something about that still delivered stories that I did not expect. Overall, it's really good. I would say every single episode except for one is amazing. I think every single episode in this is amazing. There was one that disappointed, and it's probably not the one you guys are thinking it is, but overall a really, really good show. It definitely lives up to the hype of like Love, Death and Robots, of like, if you haven't seen that other anthology series like Black Mirror, this definitely lives up to the Black Mirror expectations. It's just animated and video game based. And I'm gonna stop talking about the video game curse, because I don't believe it exists anymore. A little while ago, there used to be this idea that video game adaptations were bad. And yes, they still do make bad video game adaptations. Check out my reaction and review of the Borderlands movie. But there are so many good ones that it's not the norm for them to be bad anymore. Arcane broke the curse. The Last of Us broke the curse. Cuphead broke the curse, in my opinion. The Fallout series broke the curse. At this point, the curse just doesn't exist anymore. There are good video game adaptations and there are bad video game adaptations. Just like anything else. There are good superhero films and there are bad superhero films. There are good anime and there's bad anime. Everything kind of lives in this dichotomy of it could be good, it could be bad. And this is one of those really good video game adaptations. I would recommend it to anyone who likes video games, but I think that there's also something for just people who like cinema, for people who like anthology, who like short films. If you like Love, Death, and Robots, you will like Secret Level. If you like Black Mirror, you will like Secret Level. If you just like, I always look at anthology series like this as like a mini film festival. If you're someone who thinks you would be interested in a film festival, you probably would like Secret Level. And as a film major, a filmmaker myself, I really do love film festivals, and I love to watch something that gets me inspired and gets me in that same mindset as if I just watched a really good film festival, and Secret Level is it. And it's hard for me to judge the entire series without getting into spoilers, because every single episode is so vastly different from the last. They're all very different. They're all so diverse. They have different tones. They have different moods. They have different animation styles a lot of times. Different, everything about them is different. And the goals of the story is different. The performances that the actors are giving is different. And that is another thing that I appreciate about it. Yes, you might not like every short. I didn't even like every short. But they're so vastly different that if you don't like one for one reason, the next one is probably going to be the complete opposite of that. So I think that is everything I have to say about the series without getting into the spoilers. That has been your spoiler-free review. But again, if you're wondering if it's good, if you should watch it, my recommendation is yes. It's really good. Yes, you should watch it. Also, it's already been renewed for a season 2, which I am very excited for. I don't expect season 2 anytime soon because these shorts do take a lot of time to create. I believe they worked on this, the first season of Secret Level, for about 2 to 3 years, and that's the reason why some of these, let's just say that some of these video games that these shorts are based off of don't even exist anymore. But we'll get into that right now because we're going to get into these spoilers. So this is your official spoiler warning. After this, I will start to spoil Secret Level Season 1, so be prepared for that. So if you want to check out Secret Level without any spoilers, go ahead, pause the video, do that now, and I will be here when you guys get back. Now that you have been warned of spoilers incoming, I'm going to start to talk about each episode. And like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on any one episode because there are 15 total. And I don't want to make this video too long, but I do want to give you an idea of how I felt about each one. So the first episode of Secret Level Season 1 is the D&D episode. And this one, I thought D&D would be the broadest theme because D&D is like a tabletop game with a storied history. It's one of the oldest games in this list, but it's also not just one thing. It's a game that can evolve depending on who's playing it and how they play it and when they play it and a whole bunch of other things. But I think that they really got the essence of D&D in this very short story. You got the essence of choice with D&D, the party that comes with D&D, and the diversity of that party and how each person brings something different to the game. And you also got the fantasy of D&D, of where it can take you anywhere. It can give you these themes, some that you expect, like the Dungeons and the Dragons, but then other themes that you didn't expect, and it brings it all together into one short story. This one had amazing graphical fidelity, and it gave you an idea of how these short films were going to look, but they look amazing. They go for a super hyper realistic look, and it really knocked it out of the park. Whereas like a lot of video games go for this look, but not a lot of video games can actually achieve this look, especially if you don't have the top of the line like PC specs, or even sometimes consoles. Even if you get that $700 PS5 Pro, you can't even achieve graphics like this. So I appreciated that they did all the work and they took the time to get the amazing graphical fidelity and bring it to us on our very simple machines that are TVs. Although it was very short, you really got a sense of a bigger story because there was a story that they gave you, but you also got a sense of the story before the story and the story that comes after the story. And that's what I really liked. It made it feel a lot bigger than it was, but the D&D episode is really good. Then next up is the Sifu episode. I was really excited for this one because this one perfectly encapsulates the game Sifu. It tells a great story and it uses the mechanics of the game in the storytelling. If you don't know about Sifu, it is a kung fu beat 'em up game where every time your character dies, they come back older. and that every time you get older, it kind of changes the mechanics of you're slower, but you have more experience and more strength and more power behind your hits. So basically, it's about being able to use your experience of dying and coming back to come back as a stronger fighter, a more knowledgeable fighter, and use that to be better every single time. And that's basically what the story was about at the same time. It was a very simple short, simple and sweet, but it gave you all the mechanics that you expected in that short, and it really used those gameplay mechanics very well. Also, it gave you amazing action scenes, as you would expect. The fight scenes are amazing, and also this is probably one of the most stylized animation looks, because this Sifu short looked exactly like the art style from the Sifu games, which instead of that hyper realism, it's still kind of there, but it has this sort of hand-drawn, hand-painterly style over top of it that made it really feel like you were in the Sifu game. The third episode was New World. This one was very different because of the tone. This one had a very light and funny tone. It was a lot more fun than a lot of the other shorts. Also, this one featured Arnold Schwarzenegger as the main character. Technically, it was a similar setting to D&D, but I appreciate all the ways that they made this stand apart from the D&D short, because it was completely different, like night and day. I've never played the New World games, but I think through this short, I kind of got an idea of how the games work. Even similar to Sifu, there was that idea of the character dying and respawning, and every time you could take the things, the resources you collected, the knowledge you collected, the experience you collected, and use that in your new life, your new spawn, to kind of get better and do better. And even though it was a really funny short all the way through, it actually ended on a really heartfelt moment, and I appreciated the main character actually learning and evolving over time and becoming better as the short went on. Episode number 4 of Secret Level was the Unreal Tournament episode, and this is one of my favorite episodes of the entire season 1. It had a traditional like Love, Death, and Robots feel. This could have definitely fit into a Love, Death, and Robots season, and it also made me nostalgic because it had a lot of elements of classic arena shooters. I've never played Unreal Tournament, but it reminded me a lot of some other arena shooters I did play, like the old school traditional Halo games. And it was a very simple 20-minute story, but over that time, I felt like I really did start to understand the game, and more importantly, I started to understand the main character. The main character, Zan, the main character is basically a robot. He doesn't say anything, and he doesn't have a face, but I still felt like I related to this character very easily, and I think that just goes to show how good the writing in this episode was, and even the performance and the animation. They really conveyed the motivation, the aspirations of this character without them having to say a single word. This was definitely one of my favorites in the entire season. And then episode 5 was the Warhammer episode. The run of episode 4 to 6 was really good, but we're going to talk about episode 5, the Warhammer episode. This one was interesting because narratively, I didn't really know what was going on when this episode was on. And I think that was on purpose. The narrative was kind of mysterious. It didn't tell you everything that was happening. It went for a show don't tell type of thing where you really had to pay attention to what was going on. But man, when you paid attention, the things that was going on was very gripping. It was very dark in tone. It was also literally very dark. A lot of violence, a lot of, it was very graphic, but I think that really fits with the Warhammer kind of mythos and the Warhammer themes. But it was also literally dark, like I said. Like, they really used low light and they used these shadows to really emphasize the art and the stylization of Warhammer. And they did some really cool things with contrast, where you were in these really dark locations, lots of shadows, and then bright lights would come in and illuminate parts of the story so that you could see what was going on, and it made for some really, really nice visuals. This short was different because it was one where I didn't want to look away. I felt like anytime you looked away, you would miss something amazing or something important or something interesting. So I was really enthralled with the Warhammer story, so much so that you just wanted to keep your eyes on it. It was eye candy, basically, and I really did enjoy it. Episode 6, one of my most anticipated episodes of part 1, was the Pac-Man episode. I was definitely really, really interested to see what they did with the Pac-Man episode because almost everyone knows Pac-Man. You know what Pac-Man is. You've played it before. You've seen it before. We know the gameplay loop of it. But I was interested to see how they interpret Pac-Man into a short story. And I was definitely surprised with how they interpreted Pac-Man into a short story. The creators of the show said that this was one of their most violent and bloody episodes, and they were not kidding. They didn't just say that to say it. The Pac-Man episode is violent, and it is bloody, and I thought that was a really unique choice for how to tell a Pac-Man story. I was completely caught by surprise with this one, and it was another one where honestly I could not look away. There was a quote that I think perfectly encapsulates this short, but also encapsulates Pac-Man, and I can definitely see how they decided to interpret it, where I don't even know what they call the character that kind of embodies Pac-Man, but they say to our traveler, our wanderer, our sword wielder, that you are in an endless labyrinth haunted by hungry ghosts, and you must eat or be eaten. That just perfectly sums up this short so well, and you guys have to see this one. If you don't watch any of them, watch the Pac-Man episode, because I need you to also be so surprised by how they decide to interpret Pac-Man. I guarantee if you had 100 people write a story based on Pac-Man, none of them would ever give you this specific story. It's so unique and it's so interesting because of that. Then episode 7 was Crossfire. Crossfire is a very grounded and realistic short, probably one of the most grounded and realistic shorts of the entire series. But it still has a really great action. One of my favorite parts was the atmosphere that they created for this Crossfire short. It was basically a firefight that took place like during a hurricane, and that made for some really nice visuals that amplified the tension of the story and the stakes of the story pretty well. And it was a really great story. I've never played Crossfire, but it reminded me of some old school shooters that I did play, like Ghost Recon. It's a very by the book military shooter where you have these two sort of squadrons going at it in a firefight in an urban location. But within that was a really good story, a really strong story that was great to watch. I mean, I love how they wrote these characters, and everyone had their different motivations, their different objectives, and all of that was kind of intertwined within this very action-packed, tense shootout that took place across the cityscape. They finished up part 1 of Secret Level with the Armored Core episode. This was another short that could have perfectly fit inside Love, Death, and Robots, and they had Keanu Reeves starring as the main character in this one. But again, another mysterious story. Is not cut and dry like some of the other stories. You really got to pay attention to what's going on here. There are some more cerebral elements to it, and if you don't want to pay attention to those cerebral psychological elements, there's also a lot of like big robot mech fighting action that can keep you engaged in the story. The Armored Core one was really good, and I thought that Keanu Reeves was a really nice touch, because for me, every time I watched him in this short, it made me think about some of the other things he was in, like The Matrix. There is a little bit of references to The Matrix in this. There's a little bit of like cyberpunk feel to this, as he was Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk. But even though it had those kind of nods to the other properties, it was completely unique and completely different. And it had an insane ending that I did not see coming, which kind of punctuated all of the action of this short. And so that was part 1. Episode 1 through 8 was the first part of Secret Level. I had no idea they were going to release in 2 parts, but I'm glad that they did, kind of, because I wanted to give each episode some room to breathe. I didn't want to binge watch it. I wanted to kind of take them all in. So I started watching like 1 at a time, then I watched about 2 at a time, and by the time I got to the end, I started wanting more, so I watched about 3 episodes at a time. But then about a week or 2 after the original part 1 was released, they came out with episode 9 through episode 15. Episode 9 was the Outer Worlds episode, another one that I really liked, because this is another one that has a light and comedic tone. At least it does in the beginning, and that tone kind of reminded me of the Fallout series that we got earlier in the year, because of the elements of the retrofuturism that take place here, but also because the main character has this very optimistic point of view, and they are in this very like dark and dystopian world that tries to tear them down, but they're always met with the optimism of that main character. It also kind of reminded me of Futurama. I don't remember the corporation's name. It was like Auntie M's, Auntie something. But it definitely reminded me of Mom Corp from Futurama, where there was just like this bastion of capitalism that kind of has control over this future, where the future should seem very like freeing and like a new frontier that you can explore freely. The capitalist enterprise comes in and kind of clamps everyone, cuffs you, keeps your feet to the ground as long as you pay and buy into their system. I thought that was very interesting. And like I said, the story is very light and comedic. However, the longer it goes on, it starts to get darker and darker and sadder, especially for the main character. But it's really good in the end. I don't know if it had a hopeful ending or it just kind of had a sad ending that you kind of just shrug your shoulders and get over with, but I thought it was a really good ending to that story overall, and it really did make me want to play the games. I do have Outer Worlds on Epic Game Store, so maybe I will try to play the games after this, but it really made me interested in that world because I really like the story. Episode 10 is the Megaman episode, probably the shortest episode in the entire season. But even though it's short, it's still very effective because in like less than 10 minutes, it gives you almost everything you're looking for. It gives you a Mega Man origin story, and it gives you one that's a little bit more grounded, a little bit more realistic than you would expect, but still gives you everything you want from Mega Man. It has really high stakes, and it gives you just enough to make you want more of a show. Yes, it could have been longer, it should have been longer, but I refrain from actually using that as a complaint because these shorts, the graphical fidelity, the amount of properties that they had to get together, it takes a lot of time, a lot of people, a lot of money. So I understand why some of these shorts were really short. However, it does make this Mega Man short makes you want a longer series with the Mega Man mythos lore because they did such a good job with it. And it just like whet your appetite for Mega Man, to be completely honest. And then number 11 was Exodus. Now, I think that this is a brand new game that either just came out or it's about to come out because I was unfamiliar with the game, but I did a little teeny bit of research, not much. But this is a really good story. This story drew me in so fast. It has two parallel stories that take place at the same time, but the chronology of them is kind of out of sync, where for one person the story takes place over about a decade, and for the other person the story takes place over a couple decades. This was really good, and I love how vast and epic this story was, taking place over all this time across all these galaxies. It almost was vast and epic like space itself, but at the same time it was a very deep and personal story between a father and a daughter. So while it was as vast and epic as space, it was also very like personal and familial and close to home at the same time, and I thought that sort of interplay was really nice. And the Exodus episode was actually one of my favorites as well because of the dichotomy between that vastness and that closeness all in one short. It was very heartfelt, it was very nice, and it was very like, I don't know, it gives you that warm feeling inside, but also it was about space. And I love space. I love seeing space well done. I love watching characters explore space and what that does to the characters and how they kind of change over time and over their exploration period. Then episode 12 was the Spelunky episode. Spelunky was another really fun and kind of light-hearted sort of short, but there was actually some high stakes to this where the characters were dying in the Spelunky short. However, they also used a sort of like respawn mechanic. The stakes were high, but also the stakes were low at the same time. It was an interesting dichotomy there as well. But they use this sort of respawn element to give you like some elements that gamers, some roguelike elements that we're familiar with, like doing a run or a speed run, or that concept of just getting better and try to get a better time each run and using your experience and your resources to do better over time. Similar to what they did with like the Sifu episode or the New World Eternum episode. But I did like that at the end it was still pretty light in tone, it was still pretty heartfelt, and it had a nice message within that story. While it swayed from light to dark, it still had a pretty inspiring story in the end, and I really did like the Spelunky episode. It was also really short though. Episode 13 was the Concord episode, and this was my most anticipated short of the second part. When I got through all of part 1 and realized Concord wasn't there, I was still like, oh, okay, that's getting me excited for the Concord episode in part 2. And guys, I gotta say, honestly, the Concord episode did not disappoint. It was actually really good. I never got a chance to play Concord because if you don't know, Concord came out this year and then it was taken offline like a couple months after it came out due to like poor reception and poor sales. It was a hero shooter online game that was like a PlayStation exclusive. And although I never played it, I did react to the reveal trailer for Concord, and I remember saying specifically that the game looks like it has really good lore and looks like it would be really good narrative experience. But once I found out it was just a multiplayer only hero shooter, I was disappointed because there was no single player, there was no story content, so that lore would never actually be explored. They spent so much time developing the lore and the characters and the relationship and the narrative, but you would never actually get to experience that narrative because that's not what the game was about. This short actually was basically the story mode that we will never get for Concord, and I appreciate it for that. I thought this short was really good, and I think part of it is because it didn't rely on the conventions of the actual game. While the game is a hero shooter, it's all about boots on the ground, shooting your opponent, completing an objective. The story itself actually was not that grounded. It was a lot about these space pirates on an adventure. Yes, there were boots on the ground shooting segments, but it was more about the adventure of this crew as they went off into space and they explored this new realm and they found this new map that took them to sort of, you don't know where they actually went, but it was just the where the treasure is. The X marks the spots, the unexplored reaches is where they wanted to go. And this is what I really wanted from Concord, so I'm really happy that we got it in this episode. While the game is no longer playable, it is delisted, you can't get on it, you can't play it, you can't buy it anymore. I really do appreciate the narrative and the lore that they crafted for this game, and I wish there were other ways for us to explore that. But for now, all we have is this episode, and this episode did not disappoint. Then there was episode 14, Honor of Kings. Now this was a really interesting episode. In my research, I found out that Honor of Kings is a MOBA game, but by the short film, the episode that they did for Secret Level, I really did not expect this to be a MOBA game. The story we got here was really psychological, it was really existential, and it even had a bit of action, so this was kind of like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of everything, all in one short, and it was really fun to watch. I'm not into MOBAs, so I probably would never play this game, but I really did enjoy this short, and I like the story that they crafted, the characters that they made, and it really made me think a lot about it. It's about choice. It's about, that is your choice predetermined? Does fate exist? Destiny exist? Or can you really make these choices? Or are you just doomed to live out the life that's already laid ahead of you? And I really liked how they did this they basically personified that sort of experiment and made it into a very interesting narrative to watch between these two characters. And I really enjoyed the Honor of Kings short. While I might not play the game, I enjoyed watching it for this episode. And then finally, I said that there was a short that I didn't like, and I didn't get to talk about it yet because it's the final episode. It's episode 15, and this one, Playtime Fulfillment, is not about one single game, but it is about a couple different IPs made into one story, and this is the weakest story in my opinion. This was the weakest episode of the series, and it was disappointing for me that they put this as the final episode of the series because I had a really good experience watching every single episode in the show. Leaving off on the weakest episode kind of hurt my opinion, but overall I still think it's a really strong show because 14 good shorts and one weak one, I still consider that a win. I still consider that a good show. But Playtime Fulfillment is a couple like PlayStation properties mashed into one story, but when you actually get to watch it, it's not actually about any of those PlayStation IPs. They just kind of show up in this story. The story itself is pretty weak, but the fact that the way that they used the IP was pretty weak didn't help it at all. And I saw, when they first dropped the trailer, I saw that little snippet that showed Kratos, and I was really excited, thinking we were going to get a God of War short at some point in Secret Level. We didn't get a God of War short. We got a God of War cameo, And that very short scene that they showed off during the trailer, that's how short Kratos' cameo is in the actual episode playtime fulfillment. I don't know if it would have been better if it would have focused on one single IP instead of just giving you little small cameos from a bunch of IPs, but I just didn't really like the story. The story they were going with was kind of like break free from the commodification of your playtime and get back into play and get back into just having fun. But when you start to think about it, it kind of falls apart because PlayStation and all video game developers, they are there to commodify your playtime. They are there to make your play and your exploration, your fun time into a product and sell it back to you. And so it kind of falls apart because I feel like PlayStation was trying to be the hero of this story, but honestly, they kind of aligned with the villains of the story. Not that the PlayStation or any video game developer is bad, but it felt like a very surface level sort of reasoning, because the thing that they were arguing against is literally what video games and video game developers do. I don't fault the entire show for one bad episode, but I do blame them for putting this bad episode at the end, which gave me an overall like sour taste to end off what was otherwise a really good season of television with Secret Level. But I got through everything. Like I said, I don't want to make this too long, so that is it. That is my opinion of all the episodes of Secret Level. Episodes 1 through 14 are all really good, and they're all really good for different reasons. They're all really good in different ways, and because of that, I would recommend. I mean, I wouldn't even say don't watch episode 15, Playtime Fulfillment. I would say if you went through all the trouble to go through episodes 1 through 14, go ahead and watch episode 15 as well, because you might have a different opinion of it, because like I said, all of the shorts are just so vastly different and diverse, and I'm sure that different people will take different things from each of them. While episode 15 wasn't for me, I'm sure there's someone out there who it was for, who will actually enjoy it and get something out of it. It just was not me. But there were so many good episodes in this. I think some of my favorites were the Unreal Tournament episode, the Pac-Man episode, the Outer Worlds episode, the Exodus episode, and the Concord episode. I stand by the fact that the Concord episode is really good. It's one of my favorites. And some people will go into it, with the bias because they hate Concord, or they liked Concord and now they can't play it anymore. But I just as a self-contained episode, a story, beginning, middle, and end, I think it was really strong. And I think a lot of these stories are really strong. Most of the stories really understand the game that they're making stories for on a fundamental level. So like, even though the Pac-Man story is so insanely different from what happens in the Pac-Man game, there's still sort of an understanding there of the labyrinth and the maze you're trapped in, and they take that and they convert that into a story that'll be interesting for people to watch, and they interpret that in a way that takes the core and the fundamentals. It doesn't take it away, it just changes it, it reinvents it, and it reinterprets it for a different type of storytelling. And that's why I really appreciate Secret Level. I recommend that everyone who has Amazon Prime and can check it out also does check it out, because I think you'll all enjoy it. Whether you like video games or not, whether you like stories or films, this will probably be for you. And if every episode is not, there's definitely at least one episode in there that you will enjoy. So that is going to be it for this one, you guys. That was my opinions of Secret Level, the video game anthology series on Amazon Prime from Studio Blur, from Tim Miller, and it was really good. When he first introduced this at the Gamescom and he was crying, I understand why, because this is literally a labor of love. You can tell that all of these creators love video games, they love storytelling, and you can tell that this was only made by people who love what they do, people who love the stories they tell, they love these video games, because it really shows through. It shows that they have a passion for this and that they love doing what they do. And if you don't know about Studio Blur's history, they are a studio that makes a lot of cinematic trailers for video games. Some of the one that comes to mind was the Knights of the Old Republic trailer for Star Wars that came out way back when. And some of these trailers are trailers of games I've never played, but I watched those trailers over and over again, and I thought about what it would be like to play these games and how it would feel to be immersed in these worlds. And that's really what this show is about, you know, trying to tell a story within a world that you've never seen before, but you've only ever imagined, and you've only ever, you know, thought about what it would be like to be in that world. And you play these games and you kind of fantasize that you're there and that you're part of it. And this is as close as we get to becoming part of these worlds that don't exist. So I really do appreciate what they did with Secret Level, and I recommend that everyone check it out. But like I said, this is the final video of 2024. So guys, I won't see you again until 2025. But I hope that everyone who enjoys these videos makes it over to 2025 along with me. It was a hard and long year, but we got another one ahead. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you enjoyed all the videos that I made in 2024 and before that, because I'm going to be back next year with even more videos. We're going to turn up. We're going to get even more subscribers. We're going to hit those goals. We're going to get to the 1,000 subscriber mark. We're going to do some amazing celebrations. We've got more Mortal Kombat to look forward to. We've got more first and final videos that I've already recorded my first reactions for, like the next Captain America film, the Thunderbolts film, the next Superman film, and a lot more. I'm not going to spoil everything, but there are a lot of first and finals to come. Fashion reaction will be back soon. New game alert and new main alert will be back soon, as well as maybe some new videos, some new series, some new video essays, and more on the channel. So guys, that is going to be it for this one. Tell me how you feel. If you've seen Secret Level, tell me what your favorite and least favorite episodes are. Tell me if you feel me. Tell me what other things you want me to make a first and final video for, and I will see you guys next time in another new video. Peace out. More thirsty to use your rage art than I am? That's a bad sign, because I am thirsty as hell to use my rage art. Well, damn.
I'm really excited for the new movie, I exclaimed with excitement. Little did I know, it would be a feature, a creature feature, featuring the creature.